the CSHS Elementary Python program. Today we're going to be learning about some logic operators and what they do. As always, if you're following along in the Python notebook, make sure to run this top cell before you run anything else. This just imports some code. And the task that we're going to be doing today is Spider-Man needs some help deciding if he can beat the bad guys, and our job is to write a program to help him. First off, some of the logic operators that we're going to be learning about is the word and, or, and not. And first off, and is used when you want two things to be true at the same time. So for example, if I have if true and true, this print statement will show because both of these objects are true. And if I say if true and false, the print statement will not show, and we can check that by running the code. As we can see, it's only this will show. So a task for you is set the variables to the correct booleans so the text shows. I'll pause for 3 seconds and then show you the answer. So this one's pretty simple, of course. You just change both of them to true. And if you have I like pizza and I have the pizza, then I will probably end up eating the pizza. And we can say that is the case. And now or is when you want to have at least one variable be true, or they can both be true. It's one or the other or both. So for example, if true, true, this text will be shown. If true or false, this text will also be shown. But if it's false or false, it will not be shown because there are two false variables. We can check that. See, I will be shown, that's the true, true case, and I will also be shown is the true, false case. Another task, set the variables to the correct booleans to show the text. I'll pause for 3 seconds. So here we can change one of them to true, and we can run it. So if Spider-Man exists and there's a bad guy, then I'm not in danger. And if, of course, we set both of them to true, you're still not in danger because it's or. Either or has to be true, or both. And then not is when you want the variables to be false, or just flip the truth value. So for example, if I have if not false, which is a little bit weird wording, but if not false, if it is not false, the print statement will get stated out. Whereas normally if true, it would print, if not false, it now prints. So this is true is equal to not false, because the opposite of false is true. Once more, we can check this. Evaluates to true, but this is true is not true will evaluate to false because the opposite of true is false, and not just kind of flips things. We can check that. That won't run because it's not true. Now we can get on to if, else if, else if and else. You should already know what if and else do if you watched the last lesson. Just a quick recap. This is equal to true. That is equal to false. So if this is true, else it won't be seen because this is true. And then if that is false, it won't be seen, else this is false. So what it does is it checks if the first statement is true, and if it is false, it'll go on to the next one. But if it is true, it'll just continue. We can check that. This is true, that is false. That is what we told it up here. So it worked correctly. So now else if, or elif, runs if the variable is looking at is true. So to use it in the sense of an if-else statement, if we have if that, so that is false, so this line right here will not run. Then it'll go on to this else statement, and then inside of this else statement we have another if statement that says if this, and this is true. So we'll print out that this is true. As we can see, that is the case. But it would be nice if we could somehow combine the else and the second if statement, if there was just one thing, and that is what elif is. So for example, if we have that is false and this is true, so if that is true, but it's not, so it's not going to print. And then else if this, so else if this is true, we're going to print this line. And then else, it will only print if both this and that are false, because this, if that is true, this line will print, and if this is true, this line will print. So we can check that. This is true, that's what we set up there. We can set this to false, and run it one more time. Now both this and that are false, which works. So now putting it all together, so as per the original, or the beginning, Spider-Man still needs your help deciding if he can take on bad guys, and his decision will be based on two things, how he is feeling and the number of bad guys. So Spider-Man is feeling good, is going to be true. If it's false, he'll be feeling bad, and our number of bad guys is just going to be equal to 10 right now. So our first rule is that if Spider-Man feels good, or there are less than 10 bad guys, he'll easily be able to win. And this is that in an if statement. If there are less than 10 bad guys and Spider-Man feels bad, it'll be an even fight. So, he's not feeling great, there's not that many people, he thinks he can take them on. But if Spider-Man feels bad and there are more than 10 bad guys, he'll probably lose. So your task is to fill in the if, elif, and else statement below to reflect upon the rules provided above. I'm going to go ahead and pause for three seconds, give it a shot, and we'll go over the solution. All right, assuming you've given it a shot, maybe you succeed, maybe you haven't, that's all good. We're going to look at the solution real quick. So our first rule was if Spider-Man is feeling good, or the number of bad guys are less than 10, he will win. We put that in an if statement. And then our next rule was if the bad guys are less than 10 and he's not feeling great, then it's going to be an even fight. And we don't even need to have any sort of logic check for the else case because we've covered the first two up here. So if Spider-Man is not feeling good and there's more than 10 bad guys, he's going to lose. So of course we can go ahead and run this up. We can see Spider-Man will easily win because he's feeling good, as we defined up here, and there's only 10 bad guys, so he's fine. And now we can view the outcome of the fight. We can see Spider-Man, he's getting thumbs up from both sides. He's really doing great. But that's all for now. Remember that we have covered and, or, and not. Remember what those do, and we've also added elif into the if-else statements.